ice.
You know, actually, he doesn't really utilize the story very much. The story is of a swan that's been shot and is dying, and it's nothing to do with Swan Lake. And it's quite an intriguing story. It was one of the great performances by Pavlova and Maya Plesitskaya, and one of the, I mean, really outstanding moments in dance. And I think he plays it quite plainly and simply.
Competing on Olympic ice. And every day he's gotten more and more comfortable, but the adrenaline can really take over. His first jump is very difficult. A triple axel. Beautiful. Combination triple Lutz into triple toe.
Watch there is the ease with which he does it, the smoothness, the quality of skating.
Johnny has an ideal physique for a figure skater and has beautiful soft knees. Everything he does is so naturally fluid. Steps on this circular step sequence. And you get the sense while watching him practice that if you tell him he can't do something, he will very casually prove you wrong. Triple flip. Hangs on to the landing there.
Look at the flexibility, the centering, the sitting position.
Final element, combination spin, camel to an outside edge, sit spin. Beautiful effort by Johnny Weir. Clean, short program, well done.
It was a beautiful and an intelligent performance, step by step. He thought it through, and yet he still had the freedom to skate with inspiration.
He's just so calm. Olympic pressure for the very first time. He just steps forward right into this triple axel. Look at the height, the coverage of the ice, and an easy landing. Very casual. Combination triple Lutz. He'll pick right here. He vaults himself into the air. 1, 2, 3 rotations. He'll reach back. Triple toe loop. 1, 2, 3 rotations. 1 foot landing. Beautifully presented.
And Yevgeny Plushenko, the favorite to win the gold medal, who was the second man to skate tonight, still watching from the stands in the lead. And Johnny Weir hoping to put a little pressure on him. And here come Johnny's scores.
The technical score, please.
Technical mark first.
His technical score is 40.99.
And 40.99, 39.01 for program components. That gives him a total of 80, an even 80, and puts him in second place behind Plushenko. Johnny Weir, a successful Olympic debut as he skates a solid program that takes him into second place. We'll be back with more men's short program right after this. short program continues. Tomáš Werner of the Czech Republic will skate next. But a few moments ago, we saw Johnny Weir move into second place in the standings, the U.S. champion. And on his way off the ice, he stopped off to talk to Andrea Joyce.
Barely a smile at the end of the program, but what were you really thinking when that music ended?
Thank God that's over. That was really the hardest performance I've had to do. I felt a lot of pressure that I was trying to suppress before the event and not feel, but it all came out as soon as I was the only one on the ice.
Why do you think you were feeling that pressure?
Because I've been touted as America's next medal hope, so I'm trying to live up to that, I think, subconsciously.
We've watched you land all these quads in practice this week. You going to put one in the free?
We'll see. It's going to be on Thursday that I decide, so as long as they keep going well, I don't see why not.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So Johnny Weir put the first Olympics nerves behind him and skated a personal best to move into second place. And now here's Tomáš Werner from the Czech Republic. He's in his first Olympics. He's only 19 years old, and it's only his second full season of senior competition. He's had some foot and ankle problems that have bothered him in the past. Trains in Prague.
This is a great short program, choreographed right down to his focus off the top. Terrific.
He's really fun to watch. Reminds us when we were watching the other day of a young Ilya Kulik, the 98 Olympic champion. His opening jump right here is triple axel.
He's an inconsistent competitor. He's been altered a lot by those injuries, and he simply doesn't trust himself.
His weakness this week has been his jumping. He doesn't skate with so much speed into his jump, so it has little impact, like other skaters that really go flying into their jumps. Here's his combination, triple flip, and the triple toe loop.
Forward flying sit spin. Now that's nice to see. We haven't seen many of those through the years because they're too hard to do. They take too much energy. But shades of Hayes Jenkins, who had the best pancaked one in the history of skating.
His last risk element here, triple Lutz, which is back, single Lutz. That is a huge mistake because not only does he lose the triple pass, but he gets penalized for not doing the required element.
The problem was his ankle tilted over on the toe pick, and there was no pole vault there at all.
On his first practice, he didn't do a jump, and I was mesmerized by his skating. He's a puppy. Too bad. He needs a good run of competitions just to get out there and do it and do it and do it so that he can work through this and get some confidence.
I think the basic problem is that he doesn't think he belongs at the top levels, and once he does begin to think that, then he'll get it.
He is just 19 years old, Tomáš Werner of the Czech Republic.
This is called a pop when you don't get the rotation you need. Normally, this is a 6-point jump. You can see his ankle collapses. You hate it when that happens. It hurts, and it kills your score. He went from 6 points, potential on the Lutz, to getting 0.3. 5.7. Ouch, that hurts. That really hurts. I mean, the pain goes away almost immediately, but when you do it, not only does it hurt your leg, it just hurts your heart and your head, too.
And your pride.
And your score.
The technical score, please.
And the scores for Werner.
His technical score is
30.25 technical, 29.46. The total is 59.71, putting him in 14th place. A learning experience for the youngster.
Commander of the Czech Republic has earned a competitor representing Belgium, Kevin van der Perren.
Now Kevin van der Perren, as you see, he was 12th in the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City, was 8th in the World Championships last year. Interesting that Belgium qualified 2 skaters for these Olympics, but were able to send only one. That's van der Perren, who works with a sports psychologist almost daily on visualization and relaxation techniques. He'll need him here. The pressure of Olympic skating.
Now, the thing to watch for him is his jumps. Watch his head in the jumps. He spots the jumps. That means he split-second stops each revolution. Not difficult if you're doing it on a triple jump, but when you get up to a quadruple or a triple axel, then it becomes tough. It takes away the time. Watch his head in the jumps.
His first 2 elements are the most difficult. The first one being quadruple toe loop into triple toe loop.
Watch the head.
Triple axel.
Do you see how he spots that? Do you see how he spots that? And that can hurt him when it doesn't, when it isn't a thing, but he missed the second part of it. And that was a problem.
He's changed his program elements. This is a triple Lutz into triple toe.
Very good, very good.
Interesting, in all the planned elements that they give the judges, it says quadruple to triple toe. Triple axel is the second element. He changed this program, so they're going to have to judge this thing on the fly.
I'm sure he changed it because the second jump wasn't secure in getting into it in the first combination, and therefore he had to change it.
He's such a powerhouse. He's been jumping like crazy all week. Quad, triple combinations. But this program, although it's filled with theater, there isn't a lot of speed here.
Another place where he's losing points is these easy footwork sequences. His levels have been put at level 1s, and a lot of the skaters are doing level 3 footwork sequences. Building points is the key, and that was a level 1 footwork sequence.
He's a better skater than this program allows him to be.
That's a really weak spin, every position.
Well, he played it safe. He took the quad out. He put the triple Lutz in, and a silly mistake for him on a triple flip, a relatively easy jump. When you have that kind of technical ability and you miss a triple flip like that, you go from almost earning 5.5 points and it goes down to 1.5 points. This system of scoring is really unforgiving, but it's what the skaters want. They want a mistake really nailed. They don't want anybody getting by on mistakes, but they reward you for risk.
But what you said about playing it safe, you know, I just don't think you can play it safe at the Olympics and succeed. It's just not part of the games.
Look at the triple flip on the way down. Didn't get the height he needed. He comes down. It's just there's no way he can land that because his foot came to the ice too soon. He wasn't ready for the landing. Another look at the triple axel. Nice, big, high rotation. A little low in the landing, but well done.
The source leads for Kevin van der Perren of Belgium.
And here are the scores for Kevin van der Perren of Belgium. Technical elements.
His technical score is 33.50.
33.50, 32.86 on the program components. The deduction for the fall, 65.36 for van der Perren.
Kevin van der Perren of Belgium.
We'll be back later, and there are still 2 Americans to skate, Savoy and Lysacek.
He is currently...
Back at Palavello, where the men's short program is underway, and Plushenko, the favorite to win the gold medal, has the lead, with American Johnny Weir in second place and the reigning world champion Stéphane Lambiel in third place. And there's Brian Boitano. Of course, Boitano was a gold medalist, 1988, here to watch the men skating in Torino. He's also been writing some blogs on Torino Tracker at NBCOlympics.com.
Yeah, I read a couple of those. One on shopping was great. He said people are more rabid about souvenirs than athletes for medals in this competition. So he's having a good time here.
Our next competitor representing Germany.
And next on the ice from Germany, Stefan Lindemann. Lindemann, 25 years old, in his first Olympics. He was the European bronze medalist last year and world bronze medalist in 2004, former world junior champion.
Now he's 5'4" in height. He's got legs the size of tree stumps, and he can jump. And he has a nice lilting musical quality.
His body style reminds me so much of Elvis Stojko, the 2-time Olympic silver medalist. Skates with a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. Triple flip, triple toe to open here. Good height on the triple flip. Beautiful triple toe loop. These athletes are required to do an axel takeoff, either double or triple. That's his next move here. Triple axel will get him a lot more points. Good speed going in. Single axel. He didn't do the required rotation. He's going to get punished for that severely.
He blew it on the opening edge. 90% of all mistakes in jumps are made on the opening edge.
He's used up a lot of energy with all these footwork sequences. Now he has to go into a triple Lutz. Again, it just looked like he was a little tired.
He's used up energy, but he hasn't really acquired any points with that energy. It's just movement for movement's sake.
It's a pity because, you know, 2 years ago, he did such a sensational program that really lifted him right up on the ranks from the short program. He blew it then in the long program, but the short program was sensational. He has a wonderful musical quality. It didn't work here tonight, though.
From Germany, Stefan Lindemann.
He's so powerful in the jumps. He gets so much, you know, and sometimes it's a finesse thing and a strength thing. With him, it's strength. You can see he goes into this triple flip, and he just gets a great lift off on this triple flip. Up, 1, 2, 3. Decent landing there. He just reaches back. And look at the size of this triple toe loop. It's so easy and so much room on the way down. Beautiful, but the axle, when this pops open, your body just says, nope. I'm not going to do it today. And let me tell you how expensive that is. He got 9.5 for the combination. 7.5 would have been his point total for triple axel when he did a single and went down minus 7.2.
Wow.
His technical score is 27.94 points.
And here are Lindemann's scores: 27.94, 32.58, total of 60.52.
32.2.
And skating next will be Matt Savoy of the United States.
Stefan Lindemann of Germany has earned a total.
Second place as the men's short program continues, and he's ready to watch his U.S. teammate Matt Savoy, who's on the ice next. The pride of Peoria, his hometown. He really has never moved away to train. Matt edged Michael Weiss for the final spot on the U.S. team with a free skate that earned a standing ovation in St. Louis, which was a reversal of what had happened back in 2002 when he wound up being the alternate. So ready for his first Olympic skate.
And the thing to watch for him is that he does old moves in new ways. He's always looking for the original and the different way to get into jumps. He did transitions long before they were even thought of by the rule book.
First, after warm-up, he's taking his time. You know, he's got a lot of composure, and figure skating can have some pretty frightening costumes, and it's just so great to see Matt wearing something understated and sophisticated, which reflects just who he is.
Third guy on a three-man team. Very little pressure put on him. Opening move here, triple axel. Gorgeous.
Actually, the first move he did was a flying sit spin and an inside one at that. Unusual, different, very beautiful.
Combination triple flip into triple toe.
Yes. Everything about this program is fluid. Perfect music selection for him, Barber's Adagio for strings.
Beautiful transition here into triple Lutz. Came out early, will not get the credit for the rotation. They'll call it a double Lutz, and they'll take 2 off for the grade of execution. Very costly error there. Very uncharacteristic. Final move, combination spin. He needs to bring his levels up here to try to make up some points from that error in the triple Lutz. variations of position, flexibility, edge.
It's disappointing that he made that one mistake because I think he brings something very special to figure skating with his sophistication, his introspective approach.
You know, sometimes you just got to skate stupid. You just reach back here and just let your body do what it's been trained to do. A triple flip right there. He reaches right back into triple toe loop. But when you know it's your last jump, when you know it's one jump left, this triple Lutz, you just look at his left arm right there. It goes up a little too soon, gets a little lost in the air, it comes down, and he kind of loses focus and concentration for just a second. It's such an uncharacteristic error with his jumping ability.
And the look of disappointment on Matt's face. You see his marks. The total 69.15 puts him in 6th place. More skating to come.
What do you wear?
Men's short program continues. Brian Joubert of France is up next. His second Olympics. He was 14th in Salt Lake City. One of only 2 men to beat Plushenko since 2002. He did it to win the 2004 European Championship.
He's one of the skaters in this event that own the quadruple jump. He does it very easily. He's going to open up here with a quad toe, triple toe combination. Reaches back, 1, 2, 3, 4, hand down. Only a double on the second jump.
Well, he didn't own it tonight, that's for sure. And he normally has such a beautiful flowing out edge that is one of the best in the business. Didn't have the chance to show it now, but maybe he will here.
Triple axel, nicely done.
Even that one was not up to his usual level of just being able to sing on these jumps. Okay, but not great enough.
Beautiful triple flip.
We're fast forwarding through a James Bond movie.
It's circular step. You see, he really isn't fleet. He isn't lithe. He isn't fast. He isn't capable. He's more like a soccer player trying to do a tap dance. We don't see it happening, you know, as well as Plushenko, for example, or Lambiel or Johnny Weir can do this kind of step.
Well, the choreography is trite.
That straight line footwork a lot better than the circular example earlier. He really has a movie star quality. I think he has just a presence on the ice and so forth, but he doesn't take advantage of it. He doesn't pull it through. And I think that's a shame because he's a very, very talented skater with some of the best jump in his jumps of anybody I've ever seen. The outflow of them is beyond belief.
Brian Joubert of France, and that program not going to put him among the leaders.
Well, you know, the one mistake in the combination was costly, and he probably won't make the top 3.
We're going to leave you for a bit, but when we come back, we'll see the final American to skate his short program. That's Evan Lysacek with his coach, Frank Carroll.
Take your time going out, and take your time doing this program. And believe. You're totally trained to do this, and that gives you strength. So you're strong. So get out there and be strong.
Coach Frank Carroll exhorting 20-year-old Evan Lysacek for his Olympic debut in front of 29 family members here. He had a very shaky warm-up.
Disastrous warm-up. He has to shake off that shaky warm-up, and the first jump is crucial to this program. It's the most difficult jump in this program. A triple axel right off the start.
If you notice, the entrance edge, it just skidded off. There was no point at the end of it. There was no lift off it.
At this point, it has nothing to do with technique. It has everything to do with harnessing desire.
Triple Lutz, triple toe, yes. Beautifully done. Evan came out in every practice, trying to win every practice, pull the attention off the other American skaters on the practice, and he looked great all week.
He wants it so badly. You've got to control that and channel it.
Sometimes an early mistake can put you back into focus. You can finally relax. Triple flip here, double. Again, you have to do a triple. You have to rotate. Otherwise, they call it a totally missed element, and you lose so many points. Normally this footwork sequence is just so over the top, delivered, passionate. You can see that it's done not with the same heart and desire that he's shown every time he's performed this performance since he's been here.
He was totally trained, totally ready. It just shows you how much of a mind game the Olympic Games are.
Breaks your heart.
Yep.
Well, in order for the judges to believe and to give those high marks and program component scores and everything that represents the program, the skater has to believe in it too. And you can see in Evan's eyes that he's disappointed. He made 2 huge errors in the jumping passes, and the program just wasn't delivered with the same passion. You have to wonder what happened to undermine his confidence coming into tonight's event.
Well, one of the problems is that you have to know how to pace yourself through this terrible time of training for an Olympics where you have no practice time. Watch the takeoff edge here, right there. Look at that. Skidded all the way around. No matter what we say about anything, the technique was terrible there.
When you don't get off the ice all right, it changes the way the jump rotates. He's tilted forward in the air, and it looks like he comes down just a little short of rotation. No chance of saving that jump at all.
It's heartbreaking. A very
tears.
tough lesson.
Yeah, near tears and just completely dejected. Coach Carroll also. They expected to do so well. Just crestfallen. Here are the scores. 67-55 puts him in 9th place. Back with the final skater of the short program in a moment.
The 20th Olympic Winter Games on NBC.
And now the final skater in the men's short program. This is Emmanuel Sandhu of Canada. He and Brian Joubert, the only two to beat Yevgeny Plushenko since the 2002 Olympics. Emmanuel did it at the Grand Prix final in 2004, his first Olympics.
If I had to describe Emmanuel Sandhu in a word, it would be volatile. On and off the ice. You just never know what's going to happen. He is so gifted. So many qualities artistically, technically. Quad toe, triple toe opening combination. First the quad toe. Quad toe, triple toe.
He started that way before, but his stats are 0 for 4. He has not skated a clean short program this season.
Technique on the triple axel, a little high in his upper body going into the takeoff. Single axel, and that is a disastrous mistake. You have to do at least a double rotation on that. Single is a gigantic loss of points.
Look, this is a skater. There are times when you just have to forget the fact that he can't land his jumps and just watch his skating. Look at the stretch of the legs, the pointed feet, the musicality of it. It's glorious, except for the jumps.
Dick, I agree with you on a pure skating level. However, the frustration about Emmanuel is that he has all this talent, but he's never been able to train consistently. And when you see someone with that much talent, you want to wring his neck because there's an obligation to work that talent.
True, but for me, I like watching him.
Oh, I love it.
That's what I love doing right now, and the heck with the jumps. And the competitive spirit.
So many wonderful qualities to his skating. It just needs to be more consistent. And under this system, you really have to pay attention to keep your levels up. He doesn't hold some spins long enough. He gets a little sloppy on his footwork, and he ends up getting level ones, and that's very costly in this system.
Well, there's no secret. You've got to train it, even when you're not in the mood.
All in all, a very disappointing performance again for Emmanuel Sandhu.
And obviously one that's not going to rank him in the top 4 or 5 after this short program. Which means that Yevgeny Plushenko will go into the free skate in front. Plushenko, the second man to skate tonight, put up the highest score ever in a short program, and Johnny Weir, with his first Olympic skate, holds on to second place. So here are the standings after the short program. Plushenko with a near insurmountable lead, almost 11 points. Weir hanging on in second. Lysacek is 10th, back with the free skate on Thursday. Men's singles with the free skate at Palavella. And we'll see some of the early skaters to start, including Ilya Klimkin of Russia on the ice now. Yevgeny Plushenko of Russia is the big leader. He has a nearly 11-point lead after the short program, but silver and bronze definitely up for grabs.
All in all, a very disappointing performance again for Emmanuel Sandou.
And obviously one that's not going to rank him in the top 4 or 5 after this short program. Which means that Yevgeny Plushenko will go into the free skate in front. Plushenko, the second man to skate tonight, put up the highest score ever in a short program. And Johnny Weir, with his first Olympic skate, holds on to second place. So here are the standings after the short program. Plushenko with a near insurmountable lead, almost 11 points. Weir hanging on in second. Lysacek is 10th, back with a free skate on Thursday. Men's singles with the free skate at Palavella. And we'll see some of the early skaters to start, including Ilya Klimkin of Russia on the ice now. Yevgeny Plushenko of Russia is the big leader. He has a nearly 11-point lead after the short program, but silver and bronze definitely up for grabs. And right in the middle is American Johnny Weir, who enters the free skate in second place.
Representing the Russian Federation, Ilya Klimkin.
And here's Ilya Klimkin of Russia in his first Olympic Games, as you see, 18th after the short program.
One of the few skaters to start facing away from the judges.
And the first half of this program is just loaded with jumps. Combination right out of the gate, triple axel into triple toe. Could over-rotated the triple axel a little bit, could only pull a double toe loop. Quadruple toe loop pass right here. Good speed going in. Nicely done.